Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Today, we are going to have a great show for you today based on Anand Giridharadas. He had an excellent piece in the New York Times, and that piece, he kind of described it some on MSNBC a few days ago. And you know what? It forced me, it just made me say, you know what? I've been talking about this for years. I've been talking about it for decades. I had to go ahead and buy his book. Why did I buy his book? Because, like I said, we can always continue to learn on these issues, and he seemed to have covered some topics that that may enhance the book that I'm writing right now. For all of us, for all of not only enjoyment but for mutual education. So again, the title of the book that I just picked up, I've just started reading it, is what is it called? Winners. What is it called? Winners Take All. Let me see if I can get the lighting right with this baby here. Winners Take All. I tell you something, folks. Hey, I didn't realize it would do that. Kind of mess with the green screen some. Anyhow, folks, look, this is a real-time show. This is a live show. I got a little bit distracted today because you know what's on. There are two very important funerals that's on TV. And while I'm preparing for the show, I'm watching the singing at the Aretha Franklin's, the joyous singing and enjoyment, the folks just having fun at the Aretha Franklin funeral, celebrating who this woman was. I mean, it's simply outstanding what you know, the tribute that they're giving to Aretha Franklin, well-deserved tribute for somebody who was more than a singer. She actually participated in the civil rights movement, something that a lot of people didn't know. Well, I shouldn't make assumptions, but it seemed like quite a few folk hadn't known that great old Aretha Franklin was also a part of the civil rights movement. So there was a whole lot of celebrating there and a whole lot of singing. And for those of you who know I'm a very musically inclined person, I love my music of all types, from salsa to reggae to soul to rock to pop, you name it, I love it. Well, there are a couple that I don't like, but I won't quite say that right now. But again, there's some just great music at the Aretha Franklin. So I hope I'm not sending you guys out there to leave me and go watch that. No, stay with me because we have important things to discuss. And of course, there is that great hero, McCain. You know, I want to talk to my lefties a little bit about McCain. I mean, I do some reprinting sometimes of articles from the group that monitors the media called FAIR, and they really gave they sort of did a hit job on McCain today for being a neocon and, you know, a warmonger, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I decided not to take that take. The articles that they wrote about McCain were all true, but we have to understand the complexity of people and a bit more. And I'm not trying to diss the article or anything like that, but I just don't think right now is the time. The man has served based on the values of this country at that time. There are a lot of things that occur based on the values on a particular country. I mean, there are things that everybody have done that they wouldn't do as they get enlightened. Whether he had changed or not, well, that is debatable. But all in all, when you take the totality of the man, I think the man was a good man. When you take the totality of the man, I'm talking about John McCain, when you look at what John did just before his just before he decided to get out of the Senate to stay home, knowing that the end was coming, he came and he gave a reprieve to millions of Americans by being the vote to vote down the Affordable Care Act. Yes, we know a lot of these things are staged or whatever, but he was the one who took the fall for the Republicans in order to not completely destroy the Affordable Care Act for a whole lot of people. It seems like I have a listener on the phone already. Now, let me just tell you, anybody who wants to talk, if you're calling in, please feel free to hit the number 1 so that I can see that you want to talk and that you're not just listening. So if you want to talk, hit the number 1, and I see that you want to talk. So, folks, I'm going to go out of series right now because, like I say, this is your show. And if somebody give us the honor of calling into the show, we want to get them on air as soon as possible. It's your show, so let's go ahead and do that. Who do I have the honor of speaking to on area code 804?
Hi, my name is Hugh. I just became aware of your show today, and it's important and timely topic to discuss.
Excellent.
And there are ways that we can get out of the chaos that we're in globally, and I'm actually a visionary and a way show and a Phoenix Rising, but the stories, although they're quite fascinating about me, aren't just about me. It's about me showing you how spirituality and unconditional agape love can bring in new paradigms that will bring peace and root out corruption.
So what is your name, sir?
Global elite. My name is Hugh, H-U-G-H. Last name Traulsen is spelled T like Tom, R-A-U-L-S-E-N like Nancy. You can put it on YouTube or Google it, and I'll give you a big website. I actually share common background with President Trump. I'm not into the ego like he is, though. If you Google my last name, Traulsen, again, T-R-A-U-L-S-E-N, then put the word and, A-N-D, and then Trump, T-R-U-M-P. It will bring you to a page on a big website, rootingoutcorruption.weebly.com. My last name has global recognition. Traulsen refrigerators are all over the world. Trump has them in his hotels or even in the White House kitchen. On that site, too, you'll see documents, including a Wall Street Journal article from 1983 that I was written up, and it triggered an investigation that eventually led to the resignation of Jim Wright from Speaker of the House in shame, the third highest office in the country.
I remember that.
Yeah, that article beautifully describes back then how special interests and lobbyists have totally corrupted Washington, but due to apathy and people not knowing what to do or how to do it, that's why we're in the mess.
There's a whole lot of truth to what you're saying, sir. I appreciate that call. And I tell you what, can I ask you to, I don't know, you can stay on phone, listen to parts of the show, and then I can bring you in to have your commentary. Is that okay with you? Yeah, that'd
be wonderful. I'd love to do that. Sure.
Excellent. Thank you so kindly for calling. Anyhow, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Like I said, as far as McCain is concerned, I think all in all, the net positives, the guy lies in the net positive, and especially in the near term, just that vote for saving the lives of millions of Americans, because again, the Affordable Care Act. There are some that are going to give me a hard time for coming to the defense of the Affordable Care Act, to which I say, look, folks, that is all we get right now until we get Medicare for all. That is all we've got, so that we keep that to save lives, whatever lives we can save right now, as we fight and work hard for Medicare for all. Anyhow, what is the title of the show today? The title of the show today is "The Rich Do Not Have the Fix to Our Economic Mess They Created." They don't, and there are some issues with that I continuously want to discuss. But before I even get started, I want to give you the genesis of today's show. And our show has genesis. A lot of the genesis is usually something that somebody tells me, on some of my listeners, some of my promoters, some of my subscribers, or something that I see on TV. I want you to listen to this interview. I cut it down real short. It was about 5 minutes or so. I think I got it down to about 2 minutes. So take a listen to this, and this is going to be the basis of our program today. So thank you so kindly for listening. Well, I better get it on here.
the very affluent and rich, are presenting themselves routinely as fixers for a world they are largely responsible for tearing apart. An essay adapted from his new book, Winners Take All, The Elite Charade of Changing the World. Anand Giridharadas writes, quote, "At first you think rich people are making a difference, so generous, so you consider America might not be in the fix it's in had we not fallen for the kind of change these winners have been selling, fake change."
The Trump presidency didn't begin with the Trump presidency. It didn't begin in January 2017. A lot of us unwittingly lay track for someone like Donald Trump to be where he is. Many of the people who have done well in an era in which millions and millions of Americans have not done well, arguably a majority of Americans have barely benefited from the astonishing progress in the world of the last 40 years. Americans who have actually done very well from this period, who have profiteered from globalization and tech and the internet and everything else that's happened, those Americans have not just reaped the benefits of a set of natural occurrences, they have engineered America to work in a way that is not good for most people and good for them. They have set healthcare policy, education policy. They've figured out zoning and housing policy, every kind of policy, in ways that predictably, reliably, foreseeably will make life hard for most people and great for them. And then sensing the brokenness, sensing the anger, because when you look at the news, it's clear that a lot of people are angry in this country. And by the way, a lot of people who voted for Bernie Sanders were angry on the left. And these winners turn around and say, we alone can fix it. Mark Zuckerberg is going to fix all the schools. He's going to take on homelessness too. He's also going to get rid of the diseases. Elon Musk, he'll do space. And the finance guys, they'll take it. They'll do the Robin Hood Gala, and they'll just fix New York. The Silicon Valley guys started as renegades. They owned the platforms. Most powerful people in the world. Discourse, buying, selling. I mean, think about the Rockefellers and Carnegie. I don't mean to minimize it, but these are oil and steel, and these people own the portals to all of our minds simultaneously in the world. And they have clung to this image of being rebels on the outside in a pickup truck, just fighting against the man. And it has caused them to abdicate responsibility for the society that they increasingly govern privately.
Now, I want you to realize that what he said at the end. Yes, we understand everything that he said up front about them creating the problems, and also somehow they're the only ones that can fix it. Before I get any further, I want to remind folks, please go ahead and share this program. The change in algorithm requires that the people that are currently listening go ahead and share immediately if we're going to get any type of virality and increase or plain otherwise, it's resolved to podcasting and increase things. So what we want to ask you is share this stuff on your Facebook wall, your Facebook page, your Facebook Twitter, your Twitter, your Tumblr, your yellow man. I can never remember the yellow man's name. Anyhow, so please go ahead and share. That is how we are going to make a difference, and this is how we inform people of how things really work and what's really going on. And yes, our topic is always and always will have included some sort of an economic component like this one has. Welcome aboard, Michael Dean Newton, as well as Case Escamilla. And so welcome aboard. I haven't seen one of our friends in a while. I haven't seen, let's see, that hasn't been around in a while. Anyhow, folks, let's go ahead and get started. But the first thing I ask you to do is go ahead and share the program. That is how we start to get virality on the program. When you share, you allow us to reach more people. When you share, you ensure that other folks are informed. Anyhow, folks, the title of the show today is "The Rich Do Not Have to Fix Our Economic Mess They Created," and the subtitle is "Anand Giridharadas wrote the book many in the movement could have written, pointing out that the rich, through intricate maneuvers, are the cause of many of our economic and other problems." Interestingly, I have not read the book completely yet. I just purchased the book today, because what I want to do is I want to get some more insight to sort of not only corroborate what we've been speaking about here over the last several years, but also to get another point, get another way of saying things. And it seems to me, based on the interviews that I've seen Anand give on MSNBC and elsewhere, New York Times, etc., that he has some interesting narrative as well. Anyhow, in America, we have learned to revere stars and the wealthy. Why is putting a ball in a hoop, albeit with style, worth millions a year? Why is impersonating a character warrant millions? Why are those moving money around more worthy than those who create the services and products that generate that capital more worthy of ultra-high salaries? There are many avenues one can take to build extraordinary wealth. I am yet to find one in our economic system that is really meritorious. Why? Or meritorious. Why? I always break it down into two simple professions. Is a teacher who ensures that knowledge is passed on through time really worth orders of magnitude less than those who manage money? Stockbrokers? Bankers? Hell no. Yet, many of those who have amassed wealth are allowed to lead the fix to a failed system that allow their chosen existence. So the idea here is, how can we ask those who have used a system that pretty much made them wealthy, not necessarily based on their intrinsic value to society, but based on some other arbitrary context, how can we allow them to fix what may actually hurt their value, their meaning their capital value, their financial value? You can't, because whatever they do, they will do to ensure that they are at that level. Now, there are those that are altruistic. There are some of us that chose altruism over financial gain. Okay? And many of us have done that, actually. You take a look at the grassroots movement. You take a look at all the progressive grassroots movement around. And I'm going to tell you something. I see engineers, business owners, and all of that have given these things up. I see that in the movement every day that I'm a part of that movement. All these people have given up a whole lot of monetary gain. Myself, I've given up a complete software company and passed it on to somebody else just about in order to do this full time. So there are some people who have benefited dearly from the system, but decided after understanding how it works that in fact it was not fair, and therefore decided out of altruism. And it's, let me correct it. Yes, altruism plays a big part. But also, if you have kids, like I have a kid, and I'm going to be gone sometime and she's going to be here. Hopefully that's how it works. That's how we expect it to work. I don't want to leave her on a slippery slide where I did better than she did. I want her to do orders of magnitude better than I did, because this system affords that. But as it turns out, that's not where we're at right now. The country, as a lot of people are in despair, there are enough people doing very well that on TV it looks like all's good. On Facebook, everybody puts a good face on. But the reality is people are hurting in every community that you're in. You can see, welcome aboard, Matthew Tierman. You can see the hurt. You can infer, or I shouldn't say you can see the hurt, because like I tell folks around, you know, when people talk about how great the economy is or whatever, I always tell them what you don't know is how many people are suffering in silence. The silent sufferer. A lot of people that are listening to our voices right now, they're sitting back and they're hearing the good news on TV, how great the economy is, how things are turning over very well, not realizing that that greatness is going to a few, the top 10%. And it was designed that way. But they are not going to come out and say, well, I am not doing well, because nobody wants to be that one that feel, well, what's wrong with you? Well, if we all know that for the vast majority of us are in that boat, then it is easier for us to all come out and say, oh my God, this system has not given me the breaks, has not allowed me to earn the breaks to move ahead. You know, I'm going to read the blog of the week. Then I'm going to go into a little story where I had dinner with a millennial last night. And I came out of that dinner feeling both positive and negative. Well, I'll talk about that later on. But let me go ahead and go to you know what, folks. You know what time it is? Let me tell you what time it is.
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, here is a blog post. And please, folks, please take this in. It goes as follows. A lot of the words are from one of Anand's articles in the New York Times, but it was a timely article, a very important article. And there's just a piece of it here that I read. I have a link to it in the blog of the week. Please go ahead and read his entire article. And I tell you what, there's also a link in here to his book. Get his book. so far what I'm reading, it's excellent, and it'll give you a narrative. It would give you a narrative not only for yourself, but when you're conferring the reasons why you are going to likely vote progressive going forward, you have you have a narrative that you can explain. Many of us know deep inside our hearts, deep inside our minds, why we do things, why we know what's right. But sometimes we just don't know how to express it. This solves that problem. His book solves that problem. Anyhow, Americans are often awestruck over movie stars and the wealthy. Many seem to believe the acquisition of capital and or shallow notoriety can equate into people who can do or fix anything. Oh man, I can hoop a ball. I can look good doing it. I'm not talking about me now. I can't do any of that. Listen, I dispel all stereotypes, folks. I can't play basketball. I dance with two left feet, even though I can do my salsa, a little bit of salsa now. Yo soy salsero, tú sabes lo que estoy diciendo. But I remember when I was back in college, the things that I did was I moved left, right, but I did it with rhythm, and I just tried to look cool. And you know what? It worked. People thought I was actually cool. It wasn't that I couldn't dance. It was just that I was cool, man. And that's how we did it then, for those of us who couldn't dance. But anyhow, so the basketball player, he can go ahead and hoop that ball, and he can look great doing it. And for that, he gets millions, right? He gets millions for doing that. And, they're an actor, or go ahead and they mimic somebody, or they play the part of somebody, and they memorize a few lines, and they make millions. But then the guy who invented the camera, the guy who is behind the camera, the guy who's drawing all those caricatures, or doing all the graphics and all these things to make those movies happen, that's going to make those movies millions, sometimes billions, somehow. They don't partake of those licensing fees and those royalties and all of that. It's the director and the star. I thought capitalism was supposed to be the efficient allocation of resources. It looks to me like it's the thieving allocation of resources, because it does not afford those who actually did the job the compensation relative to its value on any project. But anyhow, a little bit off subject there. The thing is, the economic mess, or rather, let me repeat that line. Many seem to believe the acquisition of capital and or shallow notoriety can equate into people who can do or fix anything. As I said, that is not true. Now, the thing is, the economic mess that America is in is mostly the responsibility of these people. So what then? The fix won't come from them. They can't fix something that, first of all, they are the culprits of, but secondly, the fix involved is going to make them less wealthy, and deservedly so. So when we look at, let me continue this, because I make some mention to some of that at the end of the blog of the post. But anyhow, we must be cautious and concerned before supporting the rich on both the left and the right whenever they join the fold to fix our economic mess. We must not delude ourselves that they can or will. Sometimes it is against their own interests, so they won't. They will create narratives to tell you why their section or their thing need to be protected. Anand Giridharadas wrote the following in a recent New York Times opinion piece titled, "Beware Rich People Who Say They Want to Change the World." And here's what he had to say. "Change the world has long been the cry of the oppressed. But in recent years, world changing has been co-opted by the rich and the powerful. Change the world, improve lives, invent something new," McKinsey and Company's recruiting materials say. "Sit back, relax, and change the world," tweets the World Economic Forum, host of the Davos conference. "Let's raise the capital that builds the things that change the world," a Morgan Stanley ad says. Now, you notice of all of them, that's the one that pisses me off the most. the titans of finance, there's nothing good that can ever come out of them, because the only time they put money somewhere is whenever they are going to extract more than they put in. There's nothing benevolence of the based on those that are the capitalist based and the finance the titans of finance. Absolutely nothing positive comes out of Wall Street. There is no heart based on that economy. Remember that, folks. There is no heart. It's cold cash. You can be a good person working within Wall Street and you can do your job. But for anybody to sit back and think anything positive can come out of Wall Street, I have a bridge to sell you. Continuing. Let's raise the capital that builds the things that change the world, a Morgan Stanley ad says. Walmart recruiting a software engineer seeks an eagerness to change the world. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook says the best thing to do now if you want to change the world is to start a company. Let me digress from that start a company thing, because that one hits home, a little bit close to home. I formed several companies over my life. And every company that I founded, it was hard as hell. First, just being a person trying to form a company, and then to go through the social stereotypes of having to get what's required to form a company. Why I did it on mostly credit cards, where I had to see nobody, and built it all on my own. Products, everything. But why do I say that? Because the corporations, the system, the wealthy makes it difficult for you to even want to form a corporation, your own company. Why? Because it is so much easier to work for the man. They make it easy for you. In other words, they make it easy for you not to form a company that could possibly compete with them by pilfering the people below you. When I say below you, I mean the ones that are not chosen. Let me give you an example. An engineer, and this is my personal example, an engineer wants to create a new product, and he created a product out of his head. And when it's about to turn into a product, he goes ahead and he does a search, a patent search, just to find out that a major corporation put a patent on something that was not patentable in your opinion. To be specific, Amazon One Click. I had a product to rival Amazon One Click back in the 90s, early 90s. But they had the one-click patent. Egberto Willies couldn't develop that product and market that product. Okay? What I'm trying to tell you, and by the way, I have that in my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. You can get it in that book. Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. I told that story about Amazon and one-click. So what does a corporation do, right? They absorb everything. They make it that it's so much easier for you to make a killing when you work for them, on the executive level, and the folks that are going on the executive level are generally the ones who are going to attempt to form a company, not to belittle, let's say, somebody that would be doing other things, let's say to form other companies or whatever. What I'm saying is, when you're the folks that are, they know how to grab it. In fact, if it's somebody else, they may do the same thing as well. But here's the deal. They make it so easy for you to say yes. They make it so easy for you to say, I'll give up my dream to join you, because you have so much to offer me ready-made. I don't have to work very hard. I work hard on the job, yes, but I don't have to work very hard to get there and be financially stable and financially secure. I am there. You're there for me. And people say, oh, well, a corporation does that. Is it okay? Well, they're not doing it out of their benevolency. They're doing it because they want to ensure there's no competitors. But not only that, all that great money that they pay those great executives is on the back of everybody else that work down below, right? Because they're going to get you. They're going to get those potential competitors. They're going to get those people that they need, that they must have, but they have to pay them, and that comes at the expense of meaning everybody else makes less. So don't expect the fix. Don't expect rich people, the folks that are benefiting from the way society works today, to be the ones who are going to be generously fixing the problem unless they are altruistic. If they decide humanity is worth more, if they decide that you know what? I have had enough. You know what? What about am I not my brother's keeper? You know what? Is it that person's fault that they can't make it? Or is it the corporate state with the boot on their necks? And boot on the neck doesn't mean that they're actively doing it. Boot on the neck can be generational, where you have people now that don't even have hope. And when they don't even have hope, they don't even try. Anyway, off topic as usual, but continuing with the piece. A Morgan Stanley ad says, Walmart recruiting a software engineer seeks an eagerness to change the world. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook says the best thing to do now if you want to change the world is to start a company. And I've just explained why it is so difficult for so many to decide, I am really going to do it on my own. I'm going to take the knocks. Like I said, I formed at least 5 companies, right? And every single one, I was down. But the one thing is persistence. But not everybody can be expected to have that gene that says, I never lose. Even when I lose, I'm looking for success. Not everybody has that gene. Not everybody is willing to say, you know what? I will give up the good now. I'll take the pain now and move forward. But society shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't have to ask human beings to do that. We shouldn't have to ask human beings to give up a pleasant life to belong. Anyway, continuing. At first, you think rich people making a difference so generous until you consider that America might not be. This is Giridharadas' words. At first, you think rich people making a difference so generous until you consider that America might not be in the fix it is in had we not fallen for the kind of change these winners have been selling. Fake change. Fake change isn't evil. It's just milk toast. It is change the powerful can tolerate. It's the shoes or socks or tote bag you bought which promise to change the world. It's the one awesome charter school, not equally funded public school for all. It is lean circles to empower women, not universal preschool. It is impact investing, not the closing of the carried interest loop. And if you're a business person, you understand that carried interest loop thing, how evil it is, how it makes, that's another topic, and I'm not going to go on a tangent again. Okay. Of course, world-changing initiatives funded by the winners of market capitalism do heal the sick, enrich the poor, and save lives. But even as they give back, American elites generally seek to maintain the system that causes many of the problems they try to fix. And their helpfulness is part of how they pull it off. Thus, their do-gooding is an accomplice to greater, if more invisible harm. What their change leaves undisturbed is our winners take all economy, which siphons the gains from progress upward. The average pre-tax income of America's top 1% has more than tripled since 1980, and that of the top 0.001% has risen more than 7-fold, even as the average income of the bottom half of Americans stagnated around $16,000. Adjusted for inflation, according to a paper by the economists Thomas Piketty, Emmanuel Sainz, and Gabriel Zuckman. So, folks, close quote. That is the end of the quote from Anand. So what gives? Anand Giridharadas hits the nail on the head. I would take it a step further, however. Many do-good organizations seek funding from many philanthropists. Does that funding inherently inhibit solutions that these grassroots organizations fear will impact their funding source? Is philanthropy mainly a passive form of controlling the masses? Are they trying to ensure that the pitchforks of the oppressed remains on hold? Folks, those are some very important questions, but I close by saying, check out Giridharadas' book. It's a great book. But you know what? One hopes everyone reads it. It will take the gloss of the rich and wealthy off, and help many individuals, many of us. It'll help people do what? Assert their worth. And that is something that I've always believed in. I believed in something that we have not done as a country. We teach people how to be capitalists. We teach people a whole lot of things. The one thing we don't teach Americans is how to accept their own self-worth. You're all worthy. And I try to say that some of that every day. I'm coming to the phone lines back to 804. And folks, the telephone number is 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. I would love to hear what you have to say. And let's have Hugh back on the line. Hugh, you are back on the line. Anything you want to add to what we've discussed thus far?
Well, you're telling it like it is. Now let's go to where we can have the solutions in the present for a better future.
I am so happy you framed it that way, solutions. Let me hear what you have to say about that, sir.
Well, again, when you see who I am and see all that I've been through in my life, and I was born more or less with a silver spoon and grew up with wealth, but wealth isn't everything. In fact, in interviews, just to give people a little bit of a better awareness, I say, if you had to choose immediately, which would you rather be, an embittered paraplegic billionaire or a happy, healthy person with all your basic needs met? Now, some people might jump right on the billionaire, but I think after a couple of days they regret that, especially if he had a nasty nurse or whatever. But
exactly.
In any event, what we really have to look at, and I'll do this sort of in reverse. What I'll say now is the strategies I'm bringing forth cannot be stopped, and it's not ego-based. That's the beauty of it, but that's why they can't be stopped. And it will plug up the money pipelines to the global elites as it continually brings transparency back to them to have them either change their ways or be dealt with legally. And I say this in interviews too. A company can have the best product, the best customer service. It's no longer enough unless you're being good to your employees, your customers, the environment, and giving back to the community in ethical, legal, moral, transparent ways as these strategies take hold. And it's a spiritual happening so that it's out of my control, but it's starting to happen so that if you're buying lead-based painted toys out of China through Walmart, your kids don't have a choice, but you do. So buy from a company that is doing what I just indicated. And Walmart, a lot of people don't even realize, you alluded to them in another way, but they paid a fine not too long ago of $82 million
right.
for dumping pesticides down storm drains. They paid the fine. It's in and out of the consciousness of people. But as people wake up to the fact that election day is every day you buy a product, that these things will change.
Hugh, why don't you tell us again what your name is so I can put it in the feed?
Oh yes, I appreciate it. Yes, it's Hugh, H-U-G-H, and the last name Traulsen is spelled T like Tom, R-A-U-L-S-E-N like Nancy. I'd love to also to speak with you after the show if you have my number there.
Repeat that spelling of your last name again. T-R-A-U-L.
Yes, first letter in the last name is T like Thomas, then R-A-U-L-S-E-N like Nancy. And I'll give 3 words that will bring you to a big website that people can look over during the show. Just Google my last name, Traulsen, again, T-R-A-U-L-S-E-N, then put the word and, A-N-D, and then Trump, T-R-U-M-P. It will bring you to a page on a big website rooting out corruption.weebly.com. You'll see some interesting text and documents on that page, including a poster of my mother, who was a supermodel. It's in the Library of Congress, where she posed for wave recruitment posters during the Second World War. And that's another thing I want to address, too. We just lost a true American hero, Senator John McCain, and the way he's treated by this president is an indication of something not quite right in the White House.
Right.
And that also has to be addressed. We honor our people here, and I am a Vietnam era veteran. And when President Trump, even during his campaign, indicated that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and it wouldn't affect the loyalties of his voters, I challenged that immediately and said I would be proud to stand on Fifth Avenue and allow him to shoot me as a veteran representing America. This is America. I don't think it's legal to do something like that in this country. And I support any president in office. I pray for him, but he's so deep into his ego, the karma's starting to come back on him now. But he's got to change to really do the right thing for this country. Trade wars are all paradigm. It's all corruption and greed and control. So this is where the strategies are global, and this is where, too, I've even back in 2008 suggested, like, instead of a physical Olympics, let's have a global business Olympics for those that are disabled, that they can take part with their brain power and work with companies in each country to bring forth the best company in their country to, let's say they're making a BLT sandwich, blogs, links, and transformations, to show just how wonderful a company they are to the world. And also I have ideas related to even franchising the information age to bring these strategies into place in the right way too. So there's so much that can be done, and I worked 100-hour weeks for many years, so I know what people are going through, but I still, even though I did that, tested my entrepreneurial wings, and that's where you learn so much, and I'm so happy you brought that out and all the hard work that it took for you to have those companies. So I actually, when you become an entrepreneur or a head of your own company, that opens up a whole new world that most people don't even know about.
Right, and I hope you understood what I was talking about. Yes, I did a whole lot. I had a lot of companies. I had 2 very successful companies, but the interesting thing about it is they all started on the ground, and not only did they start on the ground, it would have been so much easier for me to jump back and work for NASA or jump back and work for all the different companies that I worked for, but I stuck it out. But it is unfair to ask everybody with all the differences and things that they have to go through that experience. So what we need is a paradigm change in the relationship between corporations and people.
Well, you're having that happen now too. There's an interesting website. It's I can't think of the exact site, but here it is, MLMlegal.com. Now,
right.
This is an attorney who represents MLM organizations.
Right, multi-level marketing.
People, right, and what was interesting, I caught him in an interview where he mentioned hedge funds are looking to shut down MLMs. Now, why do you think that is? That's because they lose the control when people become self-sufficient and not have to hope that they're got the right hedge fund as they manipulate things.
Of course, I mean that I think that's what I alluded to, my dear friend, and that is that the system is corrupt. And what I'm wanting to hear from you as well, given that I just pulled up that website, Hugh Charlson and Associates are looking to help President Trump unite America. Good letter that I see that you have there that I think that you wrote, right?
Yes, and in the menu too, if you look on where it says Hugh's Muse, you'll see a recent statement that I made concerning President Trump and America and the world. So I support him, but I hear talk, but I don't see the action. And you're not going to have the action unless people come into the communities properly with respect, stop the racial baloney. If you go back through history, I think that every race has been somewhere along the line genocided or enslaved. So
that is correct. Actually, I'm glad that you said that is correct. Yes.
So we have to start coming into our communities with respect. We all have the same basic needs and wants. Let's start there, and don't keep putting people into office that you think are going to be a savior. Most of them are crooks. and that's where the special interests and lobbyists, there's ways to get them out of Washington, and there's ways that industries can be self-policed when these strategies again take hold. And it's a whole new paradigm that We've never had the opportunity to go there before because the technologies were not in place. The internet is mankind's avatar for the future.
Right.
They opened it up as a mechanism for control, but it's a Pandora's box, because I don't mind you looking at me, but I want to know why are you looking at me and who are you and what are you doing? So we can reverse it, but it's going to take a whole new way of looking at life and becoming more spiritual. Everybody in the world has creativity. It becomes unlimited when you get the right kind of heart-to-God connection, and it's not about religion, but it is about spirituality. That's why I really love the indigenous cultures, and women too. It's their time to come into play in the indigenous cultures. They told the chiefs what to do. They're the birth givers. They have extra senses. They know how to negotiate a little bit better instead of the men that go into the macho and want to kill each other to prove their point. And here again, I've done interviews too. I was in survival when I was in the Air Force, and I say, if I was the greatest survivalist on the planet, talk about wealth and getting everything accomplished to the nth degree, and I killed everybody on the planet, what a wonderful human being I am. I have the whole world to myself now, and all of a sudden an ET comes along and takes me out. What did I really accomplish? So we have to break it down to the most basic, simple thing. Understand that we all came from spirit. Even if you're an atheist, you can't deny that. 100 years is like the blink of an eye in terms of eternity. We're all going to go back into spirit. The material goods have absolutely no use there. So really focus on what is your mission here. You may never be aware of it, but if you open up your heart to God and ask for divine guidance, you'll be at least on track with what you're supposed to be doing. As Jesus Christ indicated, always put God first. Secondly, love your neighbors yourself. So you can be wealthy. I don't begrudge people for having wealth, but what I do say, how much is enough, and how much are you really giving back? Are you giving 1% of your wealth when you have so much that you need 10 estates around the world to have a private army manage for you? You're going to be accountable for all that when you go back into spirit. All that wealth could have been redistributed, and I'm going to just interject this too for people to realize. I say there's 4 big areas that are controlling us right now. It's big business, big government, mainstream media, and the religions, and they're all in cahoots together. So when you look in the mirror, ask yourself,
repeat that again, because
you?
A lot of people won't believe what you just said about you included religion in there.
Oh, yes, and I'll say this about religion, I will repeat it. If all the religions on the planet functioned properly, nobody would be deprived clean water, food, and proper shelter. And if you're in any religion that tells you to kill someone, that's not a religion at all. That's a terrorist organization. But again, the 4 main areas that are controlling us are big business, big government, mainstream media, and the religions, and they're all tied in together. So again, look in the mirror, ask yourself who's controlling you. You may have to do things for an employer to function, to get an income, but beyond that, you have your own abilities to self-educate. Again, the internet, as long as you can qualify that the information is valid and factual, and there again with fake news, that's old paradigm too. It used to be called propaganda.
Yeah, I remember
so
those
I don't
days.
understand why we can't take documents like I have on my website. There are documents that I have in my possession, and others have them now too. So you can't dispute a letter from a police chief that says there was a hearing, which there never was. I can dispute that with him, but he said I was found not guilty and wished me the best. I have a friend that was internal affairs police for the whole state of Florida, and asked him, have you ever seen a letter from a police chief like that? He said, never. So I've been set up in things all my life. And because of my faith, and that's what I look to show people, your faith has to be rock solid. Otherwise, the darkness will come and eat you alive. You'll get paranoid. I have no fear of the elites. I'm going to be 74 years old next month. And I put this out on a radio show, too, just to wake them up and to show the fear is coming back on them now to change their ways quicker than later. That if they had hitman take me out, I asked God to let me eat the hitman's brains out from the spirit world quite painful. I'll be more gentle on him than the guy who hired him.
Well,
I'm not putting it out as a challenge, but I'm saying that this is a wake-up call.
Right.
And if I was ever to go that way, I do ask God to grant me that wish. One other quick thing. I know you want to come on, but I want to say this too. This is something that could be very interesting for the elites to know about. God is, and people should pray, and God will put the ego in check. But you could be a global elite sitting on your yacht in the Mediterranean, sipping a pina colada. You might spontaneously combust or explode. The same thing if you're in an underground bunker somewhere, because God's harmonics will go where God wants them to go. So you have an opportunity to change your ways and start doing the right thing.
In reading about you,
Got
you, sir. In reading about you, you're a complex figure. But look, thank you so kindly for calling. I'll keep you on here. I just want to tell folks, anybody else who wants to call in and say anything on the subject that we discuss and the item, the blog of the week or whatever, please remember this is a call-in show. Call 646-716-5812. I see quite a few listening on both Blog Talk Radio and a little bit on Facebook Live. We don't have a big one on the Pacific Network right now. But anyhow, give us a call at 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812 if you want to add anything to the program. Now, Hugh, it's a pleasure talking to you. I have to go do a quick pitch right now because, as you know, these are progressive shows, and progressive shows are not well funded. So I always have to do my quick pitch to say the following. Folks, please do remember this is a progressive show. We don't really have progressivism on TV. What we have is a corporate media on TV that's putting out the corporate angles on just about anything. We are here to tell you the truth. We make sure ourselves to support other progressive rags out there that are going to ensure that you are informed with the right type, not the right type of information, but the real information. Personally speaking, I make sure to go ahead and give to dailycoast.com, opednews.com, democraticunderground.com, as well as coffeepartyusa.com, and many other organizations, because we are not going to get the type of news or the type of information, or we won't be able to cover topics in depth because of even something that he alluded to. I mean, or Anand alluded to, and that is if the people that are the cause of the problems are the ones that are funding us, meaning in the case of mainstream media, they're being funded by the corporatocracy with the ads, etc. Can they really be objective when they're complaining about things that the corporatocracy is doing to remain in power or to keep you out of power? So we ask that you go to patreon.com, that's patreon.com/politics done right, and be a part of the family. Be a subscriber. It's pennies. Go and please subscribe to Politics Done Right, rather, patreon.com/Politics Done Right. We need to get up to thousands of very small supporters. That's what I want. I don't want big supporters. Now, if you want to create a donation, a big donation to say, well, we're going to help you with the studio, that is great. But as far as sustaining a solid moving program, all we want folks to do is go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right and become a subscriber, very small subscriber. What we do with very little is a whole lot. As you know, we were just in Michigan with the Coffee Party USA, coming out with a plan for the 2018-2019 fiscal year for all the things that we're going to do politically. What we're going to do specifically is we're creating local groups in the 438 districts in this country. We're going to make sure that they're populated with people who are willing to talk to each other. Yes, myself as a progressive, but our group is made up of people from all strides, and what we want to do is get people talking and moving forward in this country so that we can really accomplish something. A couple of weeks before that was in New Orleans with the Netroots Nation. As you see, I did 44 interviews, including folks like Cynthia Nixon and Sefer Teachout and the new mayors of Jacksonville and many other politicians out there, just to ensure that we can keep you informed. So we do our job. We also had interviews with organizations that are not philanthropic, but organizations, grassroots organizations that are out there on the ground. We're giving them a platform so that people know they're out there doing the job that we need them to do, so that we as people can move forward. So we're asking you to go ahead and go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right. We give a face, we give a voice to people who will never get a voice on network TV, who will will never get a voice on cable TV. We make sure to give those people a voice, and that is what we do. And we need folks to support that kind of emotion. Now, if we take a look at how things work on the right, they are well supported because the corporatocracy is endowed with your money. So they are able to use your money to support something that is working against you. So remember that. So please, folks, give us, go ahead and go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright and support our program. Anyhow, we are close to the end of the program. So what I'm going to do is give Hugh a minute or so to say, give some final words on what he thinks about the topic that we discussed today, and then we'll go ahead and close out the show. Go ahead, Hugh, real quickly.
Well, I'm so happy that you're doing what you're doing to open people's minds. And again, people don't have to accept what I have to say. This is a free country.
Right.
You wouldn't have that opportunity in Mother Russia. You would have the boot to the you-know-where
right.
if you don't follow the thing. And all those oligarchs or whatever, they're going to pass on. And it's time not to repeat history anymore, but to create a new history, bring in the age of Aquarius peacefully and related to nature. Again, God's in control of everything, and I say that because we're in chaos, that's why Mother Nature's in chaos. When we learn to become more spiritual and calm down, the whole world will calm down too. And that's why I love the indigenous people too. I do something called earthing, which people should probably try, and that's just get barefoot and stand in the grass, and it's been proven to be therapeutic and draws inflammation out of the body. But nature is God's classroom. Just get out in it. It will lower your stress level and heighten your awareness. Leave the devices inside. When you come back in, everything will have a much calmer perspective. And that's what you have to do, is be even-tempered. Don't get into a rage with what you're seeing and things that are out of your control. Pray for those that are going through horrible situations, and stay in gratitude that you're not in the situation that they're in. Finally, I just want to allude to a little poem that I composed years ago that gives me direction in my life.
Real quickly, my friend.
Seen on I'm sorry?
Could you do it quickly? We're running out of time.
Yes, it's a poem on creativity777.com, titled Caring Sharing. It reads, "If you dare to care, then share. If you share, pay heed. God will reward every good deed." It really sums up what life should be. Thank you.
Thank you so kindly, Hugh. It was a pleasure having you on the show today. Please keep listening. Please keep calling in. Also, please remember to share, both on Blog Talk Radio as well as on Facebook Live and everywhere else, Twitter, put it on your page, etc. Thank you so kindly, folks, for being here. Again, I'd like to do one more pitch, and that is to say, please remember to go ahead and run over to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That's patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Let's support some progressive media. Let's support independent media. Let's show folks that we're going to be out there doing things. Now, next week, I'm going to have a very special guest who did a documentary on Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz. It's a nonpartisan documentary that they gave me a pass to see the entire documentary. It was a wonderful documentary. I'll have the director of that documentary on the program. I think it's going to be on Tuesday that he'll be on, probably via phone. But it's going to be a wonderful show. So please go ahead and call in. It does not only apply to Texas. The great thing about the documentary, it shows you what grassroots can do. It shows you what grassroots can do. So it is so very important that you check that out. But anyhow, let me go ahead and close this show out and tell you thank you so kindly for having been here and spending this time with us. Hugh, thank you so kindly for being here as well on the call. I would love to have more people giving us a call. This is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this, baby. I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.